and welcome to Breathe with Brie. Today I have a little energizing flow, some warriors to build strength and mobility in the body. It's really good for any time of day and super energizing practice, something that you can take with you for the rest of your day or maybe when you first wake up to build some heat and energy in the body that you can carry with you for the whole day. So we'll get started. We'll get started together in child's pose. Might also be handy to have a couple of blocks nearby for the sequence if you have them. We'll just come into a nice wide leg child's pose. So bringing your knees out to the edge of your mat, arms reaching forward. Maybe your forehead comes down to the mat or a block. And we'll just start to ground down into our practice. If your forehead has made contact with the earth or with a block, maybe rocking side to side just to smooth out the forehead, find some softness in the face. Think about sending the hips back onto the heels, reaching forward with the hands. And start to notice your breath here. So finding long inhales and equally long exhales through the nose. Thinking about expanding the lungs, so finding big expansive breath and perhaps sending the breath down into the belly while your belly has the space to expand here, or maybe up into the space above you, expanding through the back body. Maybe letting that breath loose through the mouth. Let's do 2 more big breaths. And just taking this time, just another couple of moments to really arrive onto your mat and into your practice. You've carved out this time for yourself. There's nothing else to do and nowhere else to be but right here, wherever you are. Nice and gently begin to reach forward with the hands. And at the same time, press the hips back onto the heels. So finding a bit more active child's pose here, starting to wake up the body. Maybe tenting the fingers to lift the arms up off the mat, opening through the shoulders a little bit. And then we'll nice and gently begin to come forward and we'll land together in a tabletop. Finding your hands underneath your shoulders, your hips are over top of your knees and your fingertips are spread really nice and wide. And we'll start to open through the spine with some cat-cows. So as you inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze. And exhale, round through the spine, really press into the hands, tuck the chin. Inhale, belly drops, gaze lifts for cow. Exhale, round the spine for cat. 2 more, just like that. Inhale. And exhale. 1 more, inhale. And exhale. And then we'll come through center, through stillness. Maybe resetting through the hands, spreading the fingertips really nice and wide, press into the hands, and then start to engage through the core. So that might feel like pulling the belly button up into the spine. And then we're going to shift the weight into the left hand a little bit, and we're going to inhale the right arm up. Open up to the right. And as you exhale, thread your right arm underneath the left and stay up nice and high. Reach and twist. Inhale, reach. Exhale, thread. 2 more. Inhale, reach. And exhale, thread it through. Inhale, reach up. And then for this last one, we're going to come through and plant down. So we're going to bring that right shoulder down to the mat, right cheek to the mat. Maybe you reach forward with that left hand. Hips stay nice and high over top of the knees. And the hips are even, so just making sure that your left hip has come back a little bit. It's not hiking forward. We plant that left hand in front of your gaze. Press up, open up. And then nice and gently plant that right hand down. Sometimes feels nice to do another couple of cat-cows just to reset, get those wiggles out. And then we'll move to the other side. Spread the fingertips nice and wide. Press into the hands. Shift the weight into the right hand this time. Left arm lifts. Exhale, thread it through. Inhale. And exhale. 2 more. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. This time threading it through, landing down, reaching forward. Keeping those hips nice and high. Deep breath. Gently bring that right hand in front of your gaze. Lift that left arm up, open to the side. And then plant the hands down. Okay, from here, spread the fingertips really nice and wide again. Maybe you crawl the hands forward about 1 hand length. We're going to tuck the toes, send the hips up and back for downward facing dog. First downward facing dog of our practice, perhaps of your day. So just taking a nice deep bend in the knees. Maybe a pedal through, straightening one leg and then the other. And finding a focus more on a nice long spine, shoulders back, rather than getting those heels down to the mat. Doesn't really matter as much. Pressing into the hands. Maybe a couple more pedals, drop one heel and then the other, shaking the head out. And then nice and slowly lift your right leg up high to the sky. And even slower, plant that right foot in between the hands. Drop the back foot at a 45-degree angle so your heel is down, both heels down. And then press into that front foot, reach up, arms extending up to the sky. Finding a nice deep bend in that front knee. Press into the knife edge of the back foot. Lots of energy coming from the hands, reaching up. And sink a little bit lower. Maybe making sure that your left hip comes forward a little bit more. Perhaps you want to heel toe that right foot out a little bit, just so that you have a little bit more space to bring the hips facing forward. Nice and slow, interlace the fingers behind the back, press the knuckles down, inhale, heart shines to the sky. And then as you exhale, come forward for your humble warrior, right shoulder to the inside of your right knee. Gaze is towards the back foot. And try not to collapse onto that front knee, using the strength of your upper body, the strength of your legs to hold you up. Maybe your hands come to rest on the lower back. 2 more breaths. Look to the front foot. Frame that front foot with your hands. Maybe a good time to grab the blocks if you'd like. Just totally optional. And we're going to come into an L-shaped pose or standing splits. It's a balancing posture. So left foot is going to lift up. Maybe you may take those blocks even higher. just to bring the floor a little bit closer to you so that you can flex those left toes so that they're facing down, and perhaps bring that left hip even lower, nice and even in the hips. If you'd like, you can begin to come forward, come down into a bit more of a standing splits shape. Maybe you even test out your balance by wrapping your hand around that right ankle, maybe the other hand. Deep breaths here, embracing any wiggles and wobbles you may be feeling. Okay, releasing any grip you have, bringing your hands back down to the mat. And we're gonna bring the right hand down and we're gonna open up into this half moon. Stack the left hip on top of the right. So maybe you stay with your gaze down towards the earth. Maybe your left hand rises to your hip. Squeezing that left glute to lift the leg. Maybe you begin to open up that left hand to the sky. Maybe you test your gaze to the side. Big breath here, flexing the foot, the left foot. Press down into that standing leg. One more breath. If you lifted your gaze, just turning back down to that right hand, little bend into that right knee, and then we're gonna step way back for a warrior two. Arms extending to the front and back, reaching forward, sink nice and low into that front knee. And notice if you're leaning forward or leaning back, just trying to keep your head, your heart, and your hips all in a line. And from here, we're gonna straighten through that front leg, reach back with the right arm, and catch that right arm with the left. Pull back. Maybe you lift up the right toes. And then we'll come forward, warrior two. So we'll flow just like that. Inhale, reach, sky archer. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. One more. Inhale, reach, pull. Feel that side body stretch. This time, keep the legs straight. Bring those right toes down. Reach forward for triangle. Right arm extends towards the front, and then right arm down, left arm up. Maybe you have your right hand onto a block. So really think about left hip back. So right hip back, left hip forward, and then opening up through the front side body. Using the strength of your obliques, your upper body to hold you up. Deep breath. And then nice and slowly come back up through a warrior two. Sweep that left arm forward, come up high onto those back toes, crescent lunge. And then we're gonna bring the left hand down, right arm up, perhaps onto a block, just to find this easy twist. Okay, so shoulders are stacked, arms reaching up and down, high up onto those back toes. One more big breath. And release both hands down, step back to a high plank. And then lower down to a hover. We're gonna go through a chaturanga. Inhale through upward facing dog. Exhale back, downward facing dog. Nice. Couple of breaths here in downward facing dog. And then we'll move over to the other side. So left leg lifts up high to the sky. Left foot in between the hands. Rise up for that warrior one. Okay, back foot is at a 45-degree angle. So your right heel is down. Deep bend in that front knee. And And maybe you have to heel toe that left foot out a little bit so that you can bring your hips forward nice and even. Arms extending high to the sky, lots of energy coming from the fingertips. Biceps are next to your ears. And then nice and slow, interlace your fingers and do the opposite grip. So the grip that feels kind of funny. Press the knuckles down, heart shines forward. And then exhale, come forward for your humble warrior. So the arms can be up into the sky, maybe gently resting on the lower back. Gaze is towards your back foot. And try not to collapse onto that front knee. So using the strength of your lower body and your upper body to hold you up. One more breath. And then we'll bring the hands down to frame the foot, front foot, maybe onto the blocks. So we're going to be coming into that L-shaped pose, standing splits. So right leg is lifting this time. Flex the right toes. Maybe use the blocks to bring the floor a little bit closer to you so that you can have a little up dog of the chest so that you can flex that right foot and bring that right hip down nice and even. Again, maybe you want to experiment with coming lower, bringing the hands to the mat or wrapping around that left ankle. Deep breath. And you squeeze that right glute a little bit higher. And then nice and slowly, we're going to begin to open up for our half moon. Left hand down, and then begin to stack the hips. Right hip on top of left. Okay, maybe you stay here. Maybe you experiment reaching that right arm up to the sky. Maybe you experiment with turning your gaze, a little test for the balance. Deep breath. All right, turn your gaze down towards the floor if you have it lifted. Nice little micro bend in that standing leg, and then we're going to step way back, warrior two. So the back foot is parallel to the back edge of the mat. You're reaching forward and back. Nice deep bend in that front knee. And also with the front knee, look down. Can you see your big toe? Making sure that your knee is not caving forward, but opening up. Gaze is nice and soft over top of your front fingertips. And then we're going to flip the palm, reach back, grab that left wrist, reach back. Maybe you lift those left toes, sky archer. And then come forward, warrior two. And let's flow, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. One more inhale. This time, leave the legs straight, plant those left toes down, coming into triangle, reaching the arms forward, left arm forward, and then left arm down, right arm up. Maybe you have a block for that left hand. And can you think about bringing your right hip forward, left hip back, and then opening up through the front side body. Deep breath here. All right, let's bend into that front knee, coming back up, warrior two. Sweep the right arm forward, coming high up onto the back toes. We're coming into that crescent lunge for a moment so that we can come down into our easy twist. Right hand down, left arm up. Maybe your right hand comes to a block or right to the mat. Deep breath. Shoulders are stacked. One more big breath here. And release both hands down to the mat. Step back, high plank. Lower down to a hover for your chaturanga. Inhale through upward facing dog. Exhale back, downward facing dog. And then we'll just take a big step forward with both feet to the outside edges of your hands. We're going to come into a yogi squat. So your toes are slightly angled outwards. And we're coming all the way down. Maybe if you have the block nearby, you can sit it under your sit bones. Hands through heart center. Press the knees away. Chest is nice and proud. So notice if you are caving forward, shine the collarbones up. Can you press the knees a little bit farther away? Deep breath. And then from here, planting the hands, and we're just going to come back into a comfortable seat. Bring those soles of the feet together, interlacing your fingers around your toes underneath the feet. And again, keeping your collarbones nice and proud. Can you come forward? Opening through the inner thighs. Couple more big breaths here. Notice if there's any areas of tension that you might be holding. Oftentimes, it's in the face. Can you soften your face a little bit? And we'll just come into a couple of nice stretches just to wind down and round out our practice. Extend your right leg straight, left foot to the inside of your right thigh. Okay, if you need a little bit of support, you can bring a block underneath that left knee. And we're going to face the torso towards your right toes. Flex the right toes. Inhale, arms extend high. And exhale to come forward. Now, it does not matter where your hands land. Just trying to find a nice release through the lower back. Maybe a nice stretch through the hamstring. If you have a strap or a towel nearby, you can use that to pull your foot a little bit closer. Perhaps you're able to reach the foot. Again, it does not matter where it lands. Just finding that softness, that release through the lower back. Perhaps a nice little bit of sensation around the back of the leg, back of the right leg. Two more breaths. Every exhale softens you into the shape, brings you a little bit further. All right, nice and slowly come up on an inhale, and let's switch over to the other side. Left leg straight, right foot to the inside of that thigh, or really anywhere along the inside of the leg. If you need some support underneath that knee, just grabbing that block. You can also use a rolled up towel, really anything if you just find that your knee is floating a little bit. Inhale, arms extend high, and exhale to come forward. So finding that spot where you feel the sensation of your lower back releasing, where you feel the sensation maybe on the back of the leg, stretching through the hamstring. If you'd like a little bit more tension, using a towel or a strap, or if you can reach your hand, you can also pull on the ankle if you'd like, but just keep it gentle. Again, let's find 2 more breaths. And every exhale, allow yourself to soften, to lengthen. All right, inhale brings you back up through center. And then we'll just come into a nice comfortable seat. Maybe you want to sit up onto a block. Might feel a bit nicer on the hips. Hands can be down on your thighs or maybe palms up if you're open to receive. Palms down for grounding, just closing down the eyes. We'll just take a few moments here before we move on to whatever lies ahead for you. Finding those nice long inhales and exhales through the nose. Can you sit a little bit taller? Find that the crown of your head is reaching up, nice long spine. Maybe your shoulders can come back a little bit and relax. Soften through the face once more. And then we'll bring both hands to the belly. We'll just start to breathe there. Send a big breath into the lower lungs. Expand the belly against the hand. And exhale. 2 more inhales through the belly. Exhale. 1 more. Exhale. And this time I'll take a big breath to fill the belly and the chest. Sigh it out. 1 more. And we'll just bring the hands together to heart center. Slight bow of the head, just a bow of gratitude. Just take this moment to be grateful for the space that you are in, for the body that moves you, for this time to practice, and for the ancient practice of yoga that brought us together today. From my heart to yours, thank you so much for joining me. And I really hope that this flow gave you everything that you need for the rest of your week. A little bit of strength, a little bit of stretching, and most importantly, some nice deep breaths. I'll see you next time.